Hi everyone, Alexa here, and welcome to part 3 of this nervous system regulation series. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2 yet, then I highly recommend that you go and find that on my channel. To make life easier for you, I have put a link in the description box below, as these two videos do lay the foundation for everything that we're going to be discussing today. In this final part, we're going to be covering: you may not need more healing, you may need more support, the hidden problem with modern healing culture, and what a regulated life actually looks like. I think that this might be the most important part of the series because we're going to bring everything together and actually talk about what nervous system regulation really looks like in real life. So without further ado, let's get into it. You may not need more healing. You may need more support. So not every exhausted person is broken. Some exhausted people are simply unsupported. So modern healing culture can become very much a self-fixing culture. So we live in a society where we have been trained to constantly ask, what's wrong with me? What healing modality am I missing at this point? But sometimes the answer isn't in a healing technique. Sometimes it's just in slowing down and taking a good, honest look at your life and where you are and what you surround yourself with. Let's be honest, some people are simply carrying way too much. Many people are managing work, family, finances, caregiving, emotional labor, and household responsibilities. And they're doing it with very little support. And I must say, the single mom comes up. I know that that is a real struggle, especially a single mom who perhaps doesn't have support from her parents or her siblings. If there's nobody around, I mean, sometimes, yeah, it can be really, really tough because sometimes we really do find ourselves in a position where we just don't have that support. But there are structures available. There are ways. We just need to be a little bit more able to think out of the box in these situations. So humans regulate through connection. We were not designed by nature to live alone, to live solitary lives. We were designed to live in communities. Now, ancient cultures did this beautifully, living in tribes, having your houses close to each other, not with lockable doors, but often when you look at tribes, African tribes, for example, but a lot of other tribes as well, they live in close community and their doors face each other. So when you come out of your door, you're automatically confronted with other people within your tribe. Taking care of the community are things that were done in community, within groups, right? So the men might go out hunting and the women would gather or do the washing or do childcare or sit and grind whatever their food source might have been. And so this social connection is extremely important to knowing that you don't have to carry the load alone, that you have support. And then just those everyday conversations, those everyday moments of connection that are so important to humanity and to living a balanced and regulated life comes from the fact of being together as a society, of being a community. And unfortunately, modern day life has very much cut that out. We live in situations now where a lot of the time we see our neighbors and the only thing we do is say hi and that's about it, you know. Our social worlds are very different today, and it has created a space of isolation. Modern life has created a space where our elderly, unfortunately, are very isolated and very lonely. And even now, you know, people in midlife, maybe not in your 20s because you might go out a lot when you're a little bit younger, but when you start to become a couch potato like myself, we can find ourselves closed in and away from society or from the support that we could possibly get if we were living in a close-knit community. So yes, we are not designed to do everything alone, and supportive relationships do help to create an immense sense of safety. Feeling understood and cared for, feeling supported allows the nervous system to soften. It allows us to interact in our lives differently. And connection in itself is extremely regulating. But let's be honest, receiving support can be difficult for some because of our conditioning. Because many people are comfortable giving support, and I was like this in the past, but we're very uncomfortable accepting support or even asking for support. So we can often feel very guilty just by asking for help. We can believe that we should handle everything on our own, and we feel embarrassed if we are unable to handle everything on our own. But unfortunately, carrying everything on our own can create an immense strain on our nervous system and on our ability to balance our lives. So sometimes healing can simply look like asking for help, accepting support, sharing the load with those that you love and that love you, resting more, simplifying responsibilities, and allowing yourself to be cared for in those moments when you are feeling fragile. And help or support from someone that you love can be extremely nurturing in this kind of circumstance. The nervous system softens when life no longer feels like something you must survive alone. Which brings us to section 8, the hidden problem with modern healing culture. So the wellness industry often sells nervous system regulation as something that can be hacked, bought, or achieved overnight. And many people are trapped in endless healing content while their lifestyles remain unchanged. We live in an age where there is endless amounts of healing information, and yet more and more people are feeling like they are dysregulated, like they are disconnected, that they are unbalanced, that healing still needs to take place. So even though all of this information is constantly available and we're bombarded by it, real change isn't happening because the actual steps to real healing are not being clearly outlined. They're being marketed and sold. And simply being faced with all of this healing information that's being neatly packaged as something, just do this, or this one technique will heal you, or just buy this, or just eat this. It's not giving us the bigger picture. And while some of those ways or some of those methods might actually be beneficial when used as a whole, they're being marketed as a singular quick fix package. And we've never had such an unhealed population as we do today, unfortunately, because of this. So healing can actually become another form of pressure because of the system that we have today, because of the wellness industry. So a lot of people can feel like in comparison to others, they're not healing fast enough, or they don't meditate enough, or they don't journal enough, or they don't do enough nervous system work, or they don't have the top of the range yoga mat, or all of the wellness foods that are very pricey on the market. And healing becomes another overwhelming to-do list instead of something that can be extremely simple and enjoyable. Another problem with today's healing culture is that we tend to consume all of this information, and consumption is not the same as actual real life change. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to watch videos about diverse range of topics. I love to read self-help books. But the thing is that we cannot take all of this to be true. It might be true for the person who wrote it, for the person who is leading the podcast, for the person who is making the video. But all of the facts or all of the information that is brought forward might not be true for you. And so your only guide or your only way of moving forward in healing must come from yourself. It must come from within, your own discernment. So yes, go ahead, watch the videos, listen to the podcasts, read the books, gather the information, and then cherry pick what works for you. Because you are unique. You are special in the fact that there's nobody else like you. And what works for you might not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else might not work for you. So always use your own discernment. Always move towards what is happening within you. If you do something and it really does bring about change, yes, by all means, keep doing it. But if you do something and you feel that no change is present, don't compare yourself to others for whom that technique has worked for, or who that information has worked for, because they are not you. So all of this information that you might pick up on the outside is all well and beautiful. And you might be integrating all of this into your life, and that is all well and beautiful. But if it's not working, put it aside. Another thing is you might be consuming all of this information, but not actually putting the practices into your daily life. And that's not going to help you either. So taking in all of this information and all of these techniques are all good and well, but it's not going to help you if you don't put it into practice. So it's basically, say, for instance, you want to get your body ready for summer and you're reading about all of these diets and exercises that you can possibly do and all of these different techniques. And then you sit on the couch and you consume more and more and more and more and more of this information, learning all of these techniques, but you never actually get up off the couch and actually start doing them. So the progress is not going to come in if you're not actively participating in the techniques and actually actively looking for those that are really being beneficial to you. Yes, sometimes you need to try lots of things. Sometimes you need to be like a scientist and say, okay, fine, I'm giving myself a trial period. I'm going to do this for X amount of time and I'm going to see if it actually was beneficial. If it wasn't, rubbish bin. But if it was, and you see that it's working for you, then that's what you need to start implementing more of. So awareness alone is not enough. You have to do. And then another point on this is that the nervous system actually loves simplicity. It doesn't love all of these extravagant, over-the-top techniques. We often think that we need to do more, and we often assume that healing requires adding one more thing. And this was something that made me very nervous in the beginning of my journey. I was looking around and people were saying, oh, I need to meditate, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I was going, where in my day am I going to fit this in? Like, how is this going to work for me? I don't have so many hours in a day, and I don't want to do all of these things. So what I started doing was just taking a step back and really looking at the information in front of me, saying, okay, where can I fit a 5-minute breathing exercise? Okay, I'm going to choose that. Can I change my nourishment easily and keep my nourishment simple? So I'm not cooking for hours at a time, but I am choosing things in my life, choosing meals that I actually can implement into my life. So those two changes alone can already have a huge impact on your daily life and on your nervous system regulation. Don't overcomplicate things. Do simple things that you personally can integrate, that are not going to take up all of your time and that are manageable for you. And this will create less pressure, less noise, less stimulation, less overcommitment, and less complexity and anxiety, because what you are choosing to implement is going to be simple and doable. So healing is often less about adding more and more about removing what exhausts you. And your nervous system does not need perfection. It needs safety, consistency, and enough space to recover. Which brings us to section 9, what a regulated nervous system actually looks like in everyday life. So a regulated life often looks a lot simpler and a lot less glamorous than social media makes it look like. So nervous system regulation is not about being calm all the time. It's about creating a life that your body can actually sustainably live inside. And a regulated life is not a perfect life. I can tell you, I'm a mom of 3, full-time business, up and down with my kids. I am not calm all the time, and my life is by no means perfect. Because a regulated nervous system still experiences everyday life and all of the things that everyday life can throw at you. So you can still experience stress, grief, frustration, disappointment, fear, and difficult seasons. And when I say difficult seasons, this is a big one for me. It can be thought of in 2 ways, so difficult periods of your life, but also I tend to suffer from a little bit of seasonal depression, and I'm sure that a lot of you feel that as well. Also when the season is changing, so autumn and spring, that's when I often feel my most stressed or dysregulated or have lots of thoughts or those kinds of things. And then I don't do well with gray days. My husband now knows, luckily we live in sunny South Africa, but for years I lived in Europe. And for me, that was one of the hardest things, was waking up when the sky is not blue and the sun is not out and there's a limited amount of light. And I would often get very stressed. Not stressed in the sense of more like anxious and having no energy and not feeling like I had the oomph to get through every single day or everyday life. And I actually noticed that by implementing things like proper nourishment, proper sleep, um, having more rest, having more downtime, that became better. And now living in sunny SA, we do have grey days. It's mostly sunny, but we do have grey days. And on those grey days, I found that I am actually more energetic and more capable of handling a grey day than I was previously when I was not implementing all of these beautiful things into my life. So my point being here in saying that a regulated life is not a perfect life is that the difference when you are regulated or unregulated is that when you are regulated, your body can actually spring back faster, you heal faster, you're able to navigate these stresses or these moments of discomfort much more easily, and you have more capacity to handle it. So regulation often feels like recovering faster after stress, for example, feeling a lot more grounded more often. And this is a big one for me. I only go into fight or flight when something in my environment forces me into it. So say someone overtakes me very roughly or cuts me off when I'm busy driving. Yes, I will get that feeling of, we nearly had an accident or something just happened. But I'll very, very quickly recover from it. I'll very, very quickly get that grounded feeling back. I'll say, well, I didn't die. Moving on, or sometimes I get worried about my children or, things happen. But I'm able to find that sense of stability and groundedness a lot faster than before I was completely regulated. So you will feel a lot less emotionally reactive. So instead of reacting to what somebody might say to you or a situation, you will immediately take a step back, think about it for a second, go over what was actually said or done or what actually happened, and then react from a very calm, grounded place. That emotional reactivity does definitely get better. Also, clearer thinking. So when you're in a situation, you tend to once again step back and think about the situation very clearly and from a real point of view, because we often get into our emotional spirals and we're unable to see the situation for what it really is because we're stuck in that emotional spiral. So instead of seeing the world and seeing the reality of what's going on around you, you're in this inner sort of hamster wheel and going, oh, but she said and he said and this happened. And, whereas when you are regulated, you just don't do that anymore. You really do see the situation for what it is, and you're able to have clearer thoughts about it and a clearer perception of how you need to react in that situation. Another one is deeper rest. Wow, my sleep. I sleep so well, and there's very rarely nights, sometimes on a full moon I'll have this where I won't sleep very well, or if I'm really stressed about something. But I went through a phase where I was extremely stressed about a lot of different things, and I would wake up in the middle of the night 3, 4, 5 times in the night, and my brain was already spiraling on whatever I was stressed about. And I think a big part of this, and something that helped me greatly, was just surrendering and knowing that life is life and we're going to experience ups and downs. And I had to ask myself constantly the question of, what is the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? And then letting go of all of those things that I just simply cannot change right now. There's no solution right now. Yes, there could be a solution in the future, but I need to work towards that solution. So what is the worst that can happen right now? Well, I can die and then it's over. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing worse than that. Yes, I could lose my house. Yes, bad things could happen, but there's always a way to come back if you apply yourself. And just thinking that way really helped me to get past the constant internal battle and constant internal stress. And now my sleep is so much better. So deeper rest, stronger boundaries. Boundaries, oh my gosh, how important. And I have done another video on this. I'm going to be doing more in the future. So once again, if you want to have more videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Boundaries were an incredible help to me. Just really having a deep look at myself and thinking, what do I actually need and what can I cut out? And then setting boundaries around that and implementing them. And that has been a game changer. Another one is greater resilience. Now, this does come with all of these methods. When you put all of this in place and you do have a more regulated nervous system and you're feeling calmer and more grounded, you do build capacity. That means when someone has low capacity, when something happens, an exterior something happens in their lives, they break down immediately. Whereas when you are grounded and you're coming from this stable place, you've set your boundaries, you know who you are, you know how you function, you're well rested, you're well nourished, you have everything in place to make sure that you are calm and collected at all times. When something happens in your outer environment, your capacity is very high to deal with it. And you tend to deal with it in a very calm and grounded way. And then the last one is more flexibility. When you're not so afraid of everything in your life and you're not constantly in fight or flight, you're able to go with the flow. You know, when you have that deep faith, another video that I'm going to be putting out soon, when you have gratitude, when you have surrendered to life, knowing that you can't control everything and that you can only control what you can control, then you become more flexible and happier, actually, in a way, because you're now flowing with life. You're now living in a way that things happen and that's okay. And just as bad things can happen, really good things can happen too. And that's a beautiful thing. So you become more flexible and more capable of going with the flow. Another thing is that you feel safer in your own body. So a lot of people, when they finally become regulated, they go, oh, I can finally breathe. I can finally take my time. That pressure in my chest is now gone. I don't feel like I'm constantly bracing for something, constantly waiting for something to happen, something negative to happen. And people often feel that life is a lot more manageable, not because less bad things are happening, but because they're looking at life from a different perspective and they are integrated in their life in a different way. They are living their lives from a different perspective. It's a beautiful place to be. So another thing is that everyday life becomes more supportive. We tend to have slower mornings. So yes, I run my own business. Luckily, I don't have to drive to work every day. But even for those of you that do, you know, you can create a simple ritual when you arrive at work. A little breakfast ritual, for example. You go off and you make yourself a cup of tea. You set out your breakfast. You go and sit somewhere that perhaps isn't your desk, or at your desk if you have to. But your little morning routine when you arrive at work can look very different to the rush. Set out everything that you need the night before. Set out your clothing. Make the kids' lunch boxes. Whatever it is that you need to do in the mornings, think to yourself, how can I organize my life the night before already, organize my morning the night before already, so that I just have to get up, so that I can get more sleep, so that I can do less, and so that I have less stress. And make sure that the other people in your life, your family members, are also organized. Make sure that they all are clear on their duties and on their jobs in the morning and the night before, so that your morning is a lot more fluid and a lot easier. I tell you, it makes the world of difference when you do these things. Nourishing meals. We spoke about nourishment and getting in everything that you need. Hormone health. We need healthy fats. All of that goes a very long way. Having supportive relationships. So making sure that the people around you, and I know, sorry, I'm going to cut myself off there. I know that it might take a while to change who you surround yourself with. It is a process. All of this is a process. This is not going to happen overnight. Small changes one at a time go a long way. So supportive relationships, making sure that you have people around you that are supporting you, that understand your boundaries, that respect your boundaries, that respect you as a human being, and that are there to help you succeed. Movement, doing whatever movement makes you happy. If you're not a big sporty person, you don't have to be extremely sporty. Slow movement goes a long way. Yoga practices. There's so many today. If you are someone that needs to run it out, if you are someone that needs to do a little bit of cardio to clear your mind, do those things, because it's extremely important to clear your mind and to use movement. The nervous system is the actual body. And there's so many more studies happening now where they're studying fascia and all kinds of other things, which is also a nervous system carrier, the fascia, by the way, another video on its own. But yes, movement is so supportive, and it's one of the best ways that you can help your mind and your body to regulate in a beautiful, calming way. It is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Another thing is boundaries. We spoke about boundaries. Sunlight. Oh, nature and sunlight. Huge, huge, huge. It doesn't have to be every day. Something that I love to do, I have a little sunny spot in my home, and I've actually, there's a big window there, and I've actually put my sort of lounger chair there, my comfy, cozy leather recliner. That's the word that I need to think of. And that's where I work every single day. And I just open up that window and the sunshine filters in. And it's beautiful. Obviously not in summer because it's too hot. But in winter, this is just my cozy, comforting spot that makes me so happy. So don't forget to include sunlight and nature into your life. These are incredibly healing. It's also very good for hormone health, your sleep switch and your waking switch. It's very, very important to get sunlight to feel balanced, whole, and healthy. And then we spoke a lot about rest, so I'm not going to go into that one. But emotional honesty is the next one. You need to be absolutely honest with yourself, because if you are lying to yourself, then you are not going to be able to figure out what is missing or what is not balanced in your life. And that emotional honesty can be very difficult for some, especially if we are extremely dysregulated, if we are living very far from what a regulated life would look like or a balanced lifestyle would look like. But once again, small steps. Start being honest with yourself, because that honesty will bring about true change. And then realistic expectations. You know, often we go through life and we think that we deserve this much, or we don't deserve this much, or we expect others to behave in ways that are perhaps selfish from our point of view. And this is where honesty comes in again. We need to look at the situations and the people in our lives with honesty as well, and not have unrealistic expectations, because a lot of the spiritual sayings, I'm not going to go into all of the quotes now, but they say that dissatisfaction comes from desire. So we desire so much, and then when those desires don't come about or when they're not fulfilled, then we are discontent and we experience dis-ease. So make sure that the expectations that you have are realistic, and fluidity also comes in here as well. If your expectations are not met, instead of thinking, oh, I'm so sad, my expectations were not met, think of, okay, how can I meet them? What can I put into place to meet them? Or how can I change my expectations to fit in something else? So what I've done to make your life easier is I've put all of this into one downloadable PDF. All that you have to do is look in the comment section below or in the description, and you will find it there. You can download it, and it has all of this information in a nice, clear, easy to understand, step-by-step guide that you can just print out or have on your phone. So feel free to download that PDF. It can be extremely helpful just having everything there and ready to glance at when you like. I love to print everything out. Maybe you want to do the same. I love to highlight as well. So yeah, just having that printable download can be very beneficial. Just remember here that you're not trying to change your life overnight. You're trying to choose one or two things that you can easily implement to make your life easier and to help you get your nervous system into a regulated state. And this change could take a very long time. For me personally, it did, because there were so many things that needed to change, and it was dependent on the influences that I had around me, other people, my environments, my work. And it's been a journey, but it is possible. And with the right mindset, and with you thinking that you need to be gentle with yourself, taking your time and only taking on one change at a time, then anything is possible. You only need to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. 1% is not a lot. So you can do it. It has been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Once again, if you did, please like and subscribe and hit that notification button so that you can receive more videos like this in the future. It has been so wonderful seeing you today, and I hope that you will be back to see more videos in the future. I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care.